The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Forge Fitness and Nutrition LLC, the podcast hosts, owners, employees, contractors, partners, or affiliates. This presentation may include the use of explicit language. Listener or viewer discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to the Forge Fitness, Nutrition, and Habit podcast. I'm your host, Michael S. Parker. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is going to be a really interesting and fun episode because I know this person so well. I've had the pleasure of working directly with Christine Van Patten. She is an artist. She's a mentor to other artists. She's a mother, and she is just one amazing person who has really redefined herself. I mean, I hate to use the tagline of Forge, if you remake yourself, but that's what this girl has done. And I've watched her literally melt herself and rebuild over and over again to hone the person that she wants to be. She's somebody that I have the pleasure of seeing every single week for the last 5.5 years. And Christine, welcome to the Forge podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Let's just kind of dive in straight away. And like I said, I've had the pleasure of watching you grow tremendously. And I've literally watched your children grow because they always poke their little heads on our calls. So tell me, what did life look like before you really made that conscientious decision to improve your?
We're gonna re-reference back to two starting points essentially. There's the initial starting point, which was when I first got pregnant with my son. And then there's kind of the second starting point, which was the beginning of 2024, when I just gave you the reins and did everything you said to do, right? Which at that point we had already been together for many, many years. But that was kind of like the second big shift. So if I go back to before the very first shift, I was a totally different person. I struggled with eating disorders, anorexia, and bulimia ever since I was, I don't know, probably 10, 11. And this was reinforced by my mother, who still has the same body dysmorphia, and she still struggles with the same anorexia issues. So the whole binge purge routine, I was very much in that cycle. I was an alcoholic. I drank pretty much every night. I was addicted to Adderall. I was a smoker. I smoked cigarettes. Yeah, I was just a mess of a person. I was consistently malnourished, consistently dehydrated. I ate, SpaghettiOs from a can and ramen noodles. It was terrible. It was really, really awful. And then I got pregnant. And it was one thing to kind of be mean to my own body, but it was a very different thing to know that I was hurting someone else. So that was kind of my first big shift. I was like, I can't do this. I can't live like this and have a baby, be a mother. That can't happen. I don't want to enforce the same things my mother did on me to my future kids. And I don't want to have these habits. I don't want to be this kind of person. But it kind of takes an outside force sometimes for you to admit that that's what you want, actually, because there's just this whole I don't know, glamorization, romanticization of your 20s where you're supposed to be out partying and enjoying life and being in college and being experimental, and that's supposed to be quote unquote how you are. But I was massively depressed. I hated myself. I wasn't going anywhere that I really wanted to go in life. So this was a big shift at that point. Obviously that's when I met my husband now, Kyle, who was essentially my first coach. He was my first life coach. And the first thing we had to tackle was eating disorders. The main thing, we just had to tackle that for pregnancy purposes. At that point, if the scale read triple digits, I was an emotional wreck. 100 pounds was crazy. 115 pounds, I was like a cow, what I thought. Which obviously is ridiculous. In hindsight, it's 2020. But at the time, that was my measure of beauty was the scale has to be under 100. So the first thing that we worked on for overcoming eating disorders was just accept that you're going to be fat. Just accept that part. You're pregnant. You're going to gain weight. You're going to get fat. And that is not the purpose of your living right now. Your life does not revolve around looking beautiful. Your life revolves around growing a baby. That's the big thing. So I started eating a lot more food. Kyle would make me bacon and egg and cheese bagels with Swiss cheese and spinach and all this stuff. And he would just he would go through the works to make me these elaborate meals. He would make me crap. He would make me steak dinners, like anything I even wanted or could potentially want. He would make sure it happened so that I just kept eating. And obviously this was like better food than the canned crap I was eating before. I mean, it was still not necessarily healthy. Like it was drenched in butter and all of that, but that wasn't the point. The point was just eat food and don't throw it up. That was the point, which was a big first hurdle. And I think one of the really big tidbits of advice that I have for other people a lot of times is like find someone that you trust to give the reins to. At that point, that was Kyle. I was like, okay, I'm going to put him in charge of my food and he is going to cook for me and he is going to make sure that I don't throw up and he is going to like track all the food I'm intaking for the day and make sure that I'm at least like basics of nutrition are met, which I guess I should mention my husband is a paramedic, so he's not unfamiliar with the body's needs. So that was my first thing. Just like turn it over to him and let him tell me what to eat and when to eat and just don't worry about getting fat because I will get fat. Just accept that and move on. And that was hard, really hard. Of course, I was pregnant, so I had to simultaneously also stop doing drugs. You can't do drugs while you're pregnant. I had to stop smoking. That was a really, really, really hard one. That one was like, I think that one was where I really got aware of how insidious the subconscious mind can be. Where, let's say, as an example, I used to smoke a lot when I took long drives. If I was driving for a long time, I would basically just like chain smoke the whole trip. When I cut out cigarettes, all of a sudden I really needed to take this trip to go see my parents. I really needed to drive all the way to Houston to go to this art gallery or whatever. It was like something inside just compelled me to take these long road trips for no reason. That was really not necessary, but it was just kind of my mind's subconscious way of like getting me into a situation where I would smoke again. I think for a lot of people, that's like, oh, your friends go out to bars or like all of a sudden there's all these events where like people are smoking and that's just your typical social scene. And so you get drawn back to those habits or those environments where it's an acceptable thing. So that was just really hard because it's one thing, when you can see it, when you can see your enemy, it's one thing when it's like inside of you and you're just battling your own brain, so much harder, I think. I don't know how else to put that. But yeah, so pregnancy was like the first big shift where I just had to shed all of these negative habits. Like I said, my mom also struggles with eating disorders. My dad struggles with alcoholism, which my mom ended up kind of falling into that same pattern or routine with him just because I guess that just happens when you live with someone long enough. And so these were things, along with other things that are kind of like less direct. Like they're very argumentative. They yell at each other all the time. You know, it's a very like combative sort of relationship dynamic. And that was something that my now husband did not want as part of our relationship. And so there was all these other things that I was also trying to overcome at the same time of like, okay, be considerate, watch my tone, don't, you know, don't explode. That's not a healthy way of handling this. So it's a lot, like all at one time is kind of a lot. But we were systematically working through all of these things that I wanted to be different about myself. And a lot of those things just by necessity of pregnancy really had to come first. But the other things were still on the list and we were still working on them as we went along. After I had my son, it was not very long later when I had my daughter, which was about a year and a half later. And I was still struggling with malnutrition. In fact, we almost lost her at the end because I had an aneurysm in my umbilical cord and they were monitoring it. I was there every week. They were talking about potentially an emergency C-section and all this stuff. And I was really scared. But thankfully, everything was okay. We had a good delivery and everything, but I still struggled with breastfeeding, obviously because I was malnourished and dehydrated. Like I wasn't producing milk like I should have been. And there's so much self-identity tied to motherhood, especially right after you give birth. Like this is what you have dedicated your entire life to for the last 9 months. And it has become like basically your sole purpose in life. And then now the baby's here and you're supposed to do all of these things, right? Like you're supposed to have this instant love connection. You're supposed to breastfeed. You're supposed to do all these things. And that's even outside of like the social conditioning of like all the things mothers should do or should do. you should hold down a full-time job and be a full-time mother and, like all these things. You're not, if you stay at home and be a housewife, then you're like, not a feminist or something. And if you go and you try to make money and, you're paying for daycares, well, then you're an absent mother and you're not there to help grow your kids. It's like a lose-lose situation, no matter what you do. But not being able to breastfeed as much as I wanted to was soul crushing. And with my daughter, I didn't have that like instant love connection. The first couple of weeks, I was just like, I don't know, you're this weird thing that's like now on the outside. But I didn't have that like I did with my son. She wanted my husband to hold her all the time. She did not want me to hold her. I wasn't producing milk like I wanted to. And so I went into this really bad postpartum depression. And when that comes up, like all the same bad habits come back, right? All the alcoholism, the eating disorders, all that stuff just comes back as a coping mechanism, I guess, but it's a really hard time. So, so yeah, just to say that sometimes you feel like you get over a certain thing, but it's just not gone. Like it's always a journey. Always have to come back to it, reaffirm, redirect, keep your goals and your focuses in mind, and remind yourself why you made that choice in the first place. I don't know if I really answered your question.
Everything that you were going through is it's natural to have challenges. Yours were just exacerbated by certain conditions. I've spoken to you at length about the challenges that your mother posed in the way that she approached raising you. That was very
Right.
difficult for you. And there was that sense of loneliness. You felt like it was Christine against the world. And I know that to you, being a mother, it's like the apex. And you've told me the story about when Juniper was born, and it was not the same when Kirk was born. You had a disassociation, and you had to really go through that, and then that instigated a reversion to bad habit. I will say is that Kyle is the most involved spouse that I've ever seen in 25 years. I've never had a client whose spouse was as involved as he is, and he's clearly passionate about helping you. And Kyle's really good at doing something specific that you need, which is that he'll never let you drown, but he'll let the water get to your chin.
Yes.
And he'll be like, you have to fight. You have to contribute to your own personal development. And I think that it was somewhere after when Juniper was born, that's when I think you and I got connected, right? Because
Yeah.
she was
So yeah.
pretty young. So
Yeah. At
what?
that point, so it was like at that point, we weren't really going to have any more kids. We were just kind of done with that part. And the next thing on the checklist of things Christy wanted to change about herself was, I think, what a lot of people think when they first get into fitness programs, which is, okay, now I want to be hot, but I don't know how to do that. And so I tried a couple things. I tried doing I was always a very fit person when I was a kid. I was in lots of different sports. I did gymnastics competitively. I did yoga a lot. I was a pole dancer. So there was a lot of things that I was very athletic about in my youth. And I brought a lot of the knowledge of body mechanics to my workouts, but did that kind of on my own for a little bit where I was just kind of finding things online to follow and trying to do that. But I wasn't really getting good results out of that. So I was like, I need a more structured program, I think. So I bought there was like, I don't know, like a thing from that really fit guy on Instagram. It was like, I don't know, Vamps or something like that. But I signed up for his thing and I did that for like 2 months. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm still not getting anywhere. I don't like the first day was like way more than I could possibly do. So I was just killing myself trying to even get through the first day. So I had no motivation to keep going, but I tried and just failed. And I was like, okay, this isn't working. And I was kind of at my capacity with like what I knew to do. And so Kyle and I talked about it and he was like, well, why don't we look into getting you a trainer, someone who can listen to what you need and where you're at and kind of take you from there. And I was like, that seems like a good idea. So I hired some teen college girl at the gym and she, I don't know, played volleyball professionally or something. So I was like, okay, well, she's hot. Maybe she can make me hot. But I did that for a couple of months and I realized like she has no idea what any of these things do. She's just telling me to do them. Which is not super helpful because I didn't feel like there was a goal, like there wasn't any direction. It was just like busy work. It was just stuff to do, to be active, which I guess is better than nothing, but it really wasn't satisfying what I needed out of like from an emotional standpoint, but also from a physical standpoint. Like I needed someone who could give me a direction and a path and like go to a place. And she was not fulfilling that. So we kept looking around and all the other training services we looked at, it was just like seemed so shallow and so surface level and so like validating. Like, oh, it's okay. You just come as you are and everyone is great and like everyone's beautiful. All body types are beautiful and like all this stuff. And I was like, no, I
No, they
need
aren't.
someone who's just going to call me out on my shit and tell me what I need to do and take me somewhere. Where is the guy who knows that? There's got to be somebody. It can't just all be college girls with OnlyFans accounts. Like, there has to be someone who knows something. So that's when my husband found you. And at that point, I was kind of like frustrated. I was feeling like this was just going to be another one of the same kinds of things. I had talked to several other training people, and I was like, this is another thing like that. And we had our first consultation call, and I got out of that call, and I was like, babe, this is it. This is different. He's great. I love him. I was like, I actually feel like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. We're gonna have a plan. He knows how to take me from where I'm at to where I'm going. He's familiar with like all the struggles I currently have. And he sees the light at the end of the tunnel. He sees how to take me from here to here. And that's what I need. So we signed up and we started doing our calls I think we started with every 2 weeks with our first interaction, maybe.
Don't remember. It's a half a decade ago, but I feel like I've seen you every single week for over 5 years.
It could be, yeah.
I could look.
Yeah. I think we switched. It might not be at first, but we did switch every 2 weeks. And then I realized like I didn't have the accountability if we weren't meeting every week. So then we went back to every week.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you've mentioned this a few times, but like if I went back and saw the recordings of our first few sessions, I would probably hate myself. I would probably be like, you stupid girl, just stop it. Stop digging your heels in the ground. Stop thinking you know what you don't know. Like just listen and do. But I didn't. That's not how I handled it. And life, things came up, situations changed, routines changed. My kids started getting older. My daughter at that point was like a toddler and running around like a chicken with her head cut off, trying to kill herself every 5 seconds. So, I was like chasing her around. I was trying to learn to sculpt digitally, which was a shift from my previous career path. So I was learning a whole new skill set, trying to start a whole new career path. And my husband was working on the ambulance a lot. So he was gone multiple days out of the week. And so I was feeling like an only parent there with 2 kids and a new business. And like, it was crazy. It was a crazy time. And looking back, I used so many of those things as excuses to not do. And I think this is one thing that parenthood really teaches you is that when you see your kids making excuses to get out of doing things, but like all of their muddling around to get out of it has taken longer than if they had just done the thing. And you keep trying to tell them, like, instead of fighting me and coming back every 2 seconds to ask if you're done, you could have just spent the 20 minutes, gotten it done, and we would be watching TV right now. But it's really hard to have that perspective when you're in the thick of it, right? And so it's really, you can see these things when you're a parent because you get this sort of outside perspective on a more immature mindset. And that's exactly what I had. I had a more immature mindset about the whole thing. I wanted it, but I really didn't want to do a lot to get it. I wanted it to just be like, do this for 30 days and then look like a Victoria's Secret model, like I just wanted to do this 60-day thing and then like be done with it. That's not how it works. In case anyone was under that misnomer, it's not, it's not how anything works in life. In fact, I would challenge you. If you look back at the single thing you're like most proud of in your life, I guarantee you it wasn't easy. Absolutely guarantee you. I don't care who you are. The thing you're most proud of was probably one of the most difficult things you've ever done. Anything that's worth doing is worth trying for. And I think so many people come into fitness with this, like, I don't want this to be my identity. I don't want this to take up my life. I just kind of want to like do it on the side and like it could be like the 20-minute yoga thing in the morning and then I'm fine and I'm good.
You're sticking a toe in.
Yeah, just like I just dip my toe in and like I'll be hot, it'll be fine. It doesn't really take that much work. It does, actually. This takes a lot of work. But also on the flip side, like it's kind of great having this as part of your life. Like having fitness as a big part of my life has been massively positive in so many ways I can't even begin to describe them. Like let me count the ways. So many ways. And I think again it's just really hard to see the benefits from the outside.
Do you remember it was somewhere in 2021, maybe 2022. Forgive me, I don't remember precisely. I had a hard time getting you to schedule your calls.
Yeah, I like avoided you. I didn't want to talk to you because if I talked to you, then I would be faced with the fact that I didn't do the things that I said I was going to do, that I said that I wanted to do, that I should be doing, and I didn't do those things, and I didn't want to talk to you about that.
I remember distinctly that I sent you a message. I said, "You're not getting out of this.
Yes.
You're not getting out of this."
Much appreciated.
The woman that was just describing herself is not the woman that you're actually listening to right now. That was somebody who's long dead.
Yeah.
So long dead.
A big, like, to the point that I was just saying, I think you, at some point, you have to accept that in order to become the person that you want to become, you have to let the person that you are die.
Blooming out is another bigger, beautiful butterfly. The point that I was going to make was that you were positively reinforced. I think Kyle was very helpful in that regard, right? There's no doubt about that. He's quite influential, and it's refreshing. Frankly, I wish that more spouses were as supportive as he is. I would say that when I'm dealing with an individual, it's disconcerting how often their spouses sabotage, because the spouse doesn't want to do the work. Anyway, but aside from that, coming back to what I was going to say is that you had very, very conscientiously restructured the way that you were thinking about yourself. And you go through a lot of iterations, drug addiction and alcoholism, eating disorders, to now it's not even the same person. And these are things in my coach brain that I'm constantly thinking, like, I need to help support this, or I need to help support that. Well, I wanted to mention this one thing. You had finally gotten to the point where you weren't dodging me. You started rebooking your appointments, and that was great. And then I think it was somewhere around early 2022 where I finally just said, we're going to have a standing appointment.
After letting me even book my own appointments, you were like, I'm booking them and you're showing up. I was like, okay, yes, sir.
You and I have, for at least the last 4 years, we see each other every single Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. And I won't say the only reason that you're allowed to miss, because that's our fun private joke, but you almost never miss. You almost never miss. Now, that's a huge departure from the gal that I was trying to wrangle down.
Yeah.
You no longer resisted the conversation.
Yeah. And not only that, but like, I have to hand it to you. You have incredible patience. Not just with me, I'm sure. But
Heather, Heather, come here.
You have to hand
Tell her.
You're incredibly patient, but you're incredibly knowledgeable. And I felt like for a couple of years there, if we're following the timeline, so then I spent a couple of years working out at home. I didn't have a gym or anything like that.
Right. It's all body weight and hands. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had some dumbbells, I had some bands, and I incorporated those things as we started doing more like body mechanics and stuff like that. And I was seeing improvement, like I was getting stronger and I was seeing improvement. We moved to a whole new house, and we started doing a lot of remodeling for the new house. And I realized, like, wow, I'm really weak still. Like, I work out, like I do my workouts reasonably consistently, but I still can't help carry the wood to the truck, or I can't, lift this water heater over, like there's all these things that I couldn't do. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, I still don't look pretty. Like, to me, I still don't look pretty. I don't like my body. I'm still unhappy with it. Why am I putting in this effort to not have the goal, to not be there?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when we really had the conversation where I was like, okay, you know how body dysmorphia goes and how eating disorders go mentally. And in the back of my brain for all those years, I kept thinking, what if you try and you still hate yourself?
I know. I remember.
What if you try really, really hard and you still hate your body? And so that kept me from trying really hard. That kept me from really giving it my all because I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
But 2024, we just decided. I was like, okay. And this was on Kyle again. Kyle was like, okay, if you want to give it, this is what you want to do. This is what you want to focus on, then fucking do it. Make that your priority. The number one thing in your entire life. Make that fitness and see where it goes. See where it takes you. Maybe you aren't happy. Maybe you are happy, but at least you'll know. At least you're not going to be in this like limbo of like, maybe it won't be, or maybe I could be, but I just didn't try, you know? And so I was like, okay, so we did that. And I talked to you about it. And you were very cautious with me. You were like, well, I mean, that's, I want you to be realistic about your expectations. And, it's going to require like really strict adherence and all of this stuff. And I was like, Michael, you've never been my number one priority. Right now, you're going to learn what it feels like to be my number one priority. I'm going to do everything you say. I don't care if you tell me to eat a bowl of cabbage and go to sleep at 2 p.m. I'm doing what you say for 1 year. And we talked about the time frame because I was like, what is a reasonable time frame to see good results? We discussed that. 1 year was I think it was the perfect time frame, honestly.
Yeah.
Because
it was like Thanksgiving of 2024, I think is when you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 1 year was long enough to where you're not scheduling it around your other shit. It's not like, oh, I'll do this except for around like the holidays or my birthday, or I'll do this except for that one big trip we're going to take in summer or whatever. Like you can't schedule it around other things. You just have to adapt your life to the new you. That has to be the immovable thing. And it was a finite number to where when it got really, really hard and I was like, how am I ever going to do this? I can't stick to this. I could just think, I only have 4 more months. I only have 3 more months of this. And then we were going to sit down and reevaluate. Like, okay, after this experience, what do I want to keep doing? What do I not want to keep doing? But I had to know what 100% looked like in order to get a scale of what that even was. So yeah, that was like, and that, as you know, I cut out alcohol, no sugar, no processed food, no drinks, no nothing. It was water and food that was grown that way. That's it. That's all I had for a year. And I put everything I had into my workout. You had me on varying schedules, sometimes 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, just whatever we needed to do for that particular cycle. But we did that for a whole year. And let me tell you, people are so supportive at the beginning when you're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing and I'm just going to give it my all and I'm going to see how it goes. And people are like, that's great. I'm so happy for you. You deserve this. Go. And then about 6 months in, when you actually have like really good results and you're like thriving at it, people get a lot less supportive. Then they're like, well, I mean, you can have just this one cookie, right? Like, well, it's your birthday. You're not going to have cake. Well, but we're all going to go do this. You're not going to drink with us. Like, no, I'm not. But the supportiveness falls off when you start to really get some good success. Except of course, my better half, who never fails to support me ever. And he told me at the beginning, he was like, I'm not doing 100%. He was like, I will eat the same food as you, but if I want a Coke, I'm going to drink a Coke. If I want a whiskey, I'm going to have a whiskey. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So we did that. And the first 6 weeks was hell on earth. Hell. Sugar withdrawal, the addiction of sugar withdrawal is way worse than anything I've overcome my entire life. Worse than cigarettes, worse than drugs, worse than alcoholism, worse than any of that shit. Sugar was the absolute worst withdrawal symptom I've ever had. My hormones were all over the place. I was an absolute monster to live with. Kyle's over here nodding. Yeah. I honestly, I had like so much brain fog. Like I had no idea what I was even doing on any given day. I was just all over the place mentally. I couldn't focus on anything. It was hell. But I will say this. That first day, January 1st, when I went in the gym, because I got a gym membership.
Yeah.
And I went into the gym and I did my first workout and I looked around at all the other people in the gym and I was like, these people don't know yet, but I'm a gym girl. They can't see it yet, but they're all going to be my regulars before long. 6 months from now, they're going to know everything about me and my name, my kids. Like, we're going to be friends. They just don't even know.
And that's happened.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, how many times you and I have actually had calls while you're in the gym? Like, for those of you who don't know, I do live form checks. All Forge coaches do live form checks with clients whenever we can or whenever a client wants to. One of the things that I think that people should really understand is between the year 2020 and 2024 was that you went through a normal process of highs and lows. This is to be expected. But what makes you particularly remarkable, and I wish that more people would do this, is that you didn't fucking quit.
Right. Yeah.
You and I had conversations when you're like, I don't know how much more I can do this. And I said, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
If you want this outcome. if you want this.
Exactly how Kyle handles me. He's like, okay, you pick the destination, wherever it is you want to go. You just point yourself that way and I'll make sure we get there.
Yeah. And he's done a very good job of that. But what it takes though is still takes you, right?
For sure.
You're the one who literally has to do the work. And you've done it in a lot of ways. Now, look, so here's the thing. I want to express something that's really important, that not all wellness or fitness is about aesthetics. You had massive mobility problems. You sat like a moron. Like you pretzeled yourself into this weird position. You had hip issues, knee issues. You had your wrist and your elbow problems, all of this stuff. I mean, for those of you who don't realize, Christine is a sculptor and an artist at a very high level. Dungeons and Dragons, Christine Van Patten, like Google it, she comes up. Like she's huge in that world. And you were in a state of repetitive use injury. And we worked a lot on getting your length tension relationships in your reciprocal muscle groups to be where they needed to be so you could produce force safely. And at a certain point, you got to this space where you're like, you know what? I'm feeling ready to actually do it. Now, I want to remind people what she said earlier. She was afraid to do it. Why? Because what if she failed? That is such a mental barrier. And so many people share that. And I wanted to just remind everybody, because if that's your problem, you are not going to fail if you do the work. Now, you have to be aware of your genetic predisposition. Listen, ladies, if you're 5'3", you're not going to look like Heidi Klum's body. It's not happening. Or whatever supermodel who's over 5'10" that you choose to use as your North Star of what your physical appearance should look like. You must reconcile that you should strive to be the best version of yourself.
Right, yeah.
It's not you. You need to work on being you. Stop looking at other people. And that is what you changed in your head. You said, I am Christine Van Patten. I'm going to be the best me that I can be. And you made a definitive switch. I remember distinctly this conversation because we kind of giggled at it. And then you're like, all right, I'm done resisting. I think that was exactly what we said. I'm done fighting you.
I'm done fighting you.
I'm done fighting you.
I will do what you say.
I just want to go back because you had said that I had some trepidation. And yes, I did. I had some serious concerns about taking you down the path into physique development, composition management. The reason was because I know your history and I wanted to make sure that we had no relapses. Let me make this more clear. Christine said to me, Michael, I will do anything that you tell me for the next year. And when I told her the first thing, I saw in your face that you wanted to completely renege and say that that's not happening. Do you remember what I told you? It was nutrition. What did I tell you? When I remind you, you're going to go like, oh yeah, I told you have to eat 16 to 1800 calories a day.
Yes. Okay. I do remember that because I was like, I was like internal panic a little bit. I was like, okay, like my hands are off the wheel. Like if that's what you say, that's what I'll do. And honestly, like trying to get that many calories without processed food was so hard.
In the beginning,
like I was eating mounds of like food that was like mounded on the plate, and I was like making myself sick trying to get that much food in because I never ate. I just never ate.
That's so many vegetables.
2 cups of vegetables. I had an entire bowl.
And that was minimum.
And that was just the minimum. Yeah, I was like, I don't know how I could do this. I'm literally getting sick. I'm so stuffed. And it was that point when I started realizing, like, wait a minute. It's not that people eat too much food. It's that they don't eat enough good food. Because there's not a chance in hell you could have shoved a cookie in my mouth in the first 6 weeks. Because there was no room. I didn't want it. Like, I was so stuffed. I was just doing my best to not throw up. And that was 200 calories under, like, what I'm currently eating.
Yeah. And remember, I just want to point this out. There were three things from a physiological standpoint that includes nutrition and movement patterns that I told you. But I want to preface this because people need to understand that you did what you promised. You shut the fuck up and you did exactly what needed to be done. I do remember, though, when I told you these three things, that you did have a skeptical brow.
Yeah.
It was moving you to 1600 calories because I've always told you that I was really disappointed with your caloric intake. It was way too low. Yeah. I was so concerned about your nutritional value and that you're eting subbasal. Mm-hmm. That was a big concern of mine. And then your protein was nowhere even close to what it needed to be in order for you to facilitate hypertrophy, which is what you wanted. You wanted physique change. And when I told you what your new dietary lifestyle would look like, that was a big hurdle for you.
Yeah.
But then there was two other things. The second was when I reminded you that as a human being, you actually must consume water.
Yeah.
Very hard.
So bad about that.
Very difficult for you to hydrate. That's probably one of the dietetically, that's still the one thing that you and I are still working on is your hydration management.
I drink bottled waters.
Yeah, right.
Which obviously has like these little caps. And every time I finish my bottle of water, I take my cap and I put it in my little collector spot on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to collect 7 caps before the end of the day. That's my minimum. Sorry. Kyle came up with. Like he does all my good systems.
Mm-hmm.
And all of my other methods that I had tried for tracking before, I really struggled with. And I think a lot of it was because it was a subtraction mindset. Like, here's all this water, just like get rid of it.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Whereas this is more like a collector's, like keeping things. And something about that part of my crow brain is like, yes, I have all my little caps I've collected.
Yeah, hoard those caps. Yeah.
Yeah, I hoard them. They're my special thing. And like when the kids would come and try to take my water, they'll usually like take the cap off and set it on my desk. And I'm like, don't do that, that's my water, that's my cap. Put it back. I get like very protective of my cap.
Yeah. Well, because you have a system that works. Now, I'm going to shamelessly plug in my book, The 90-Day Habit Transformation. It is the sustainable guide to fitness, nutrition, and success for sustainable well-being. I do write about this. I have a client. She's going on 9 years. And so she has the candy bowl on the desk. And one of the things that I started making her do back in like, I don't know, late 2017, when Forge was just brand new, they're all minis, like they're the mini Snickers, the mini Reese's, the mini minis, right? I said, I want you to put another bowl in your drawer. And every time you have it, put the wrapper in there at the end of the day, I want you to count it.
Yeah. Honestly, like when you cut everything out, like when there are no exceptions whatsoever, you start noticing all those little things that you never counted. Like
no snacking.
Yeah, like I just, grabbed the Andes mint on the way out of the restaurant. Or, the kids had things on the table and I just grabbed some when I was walking by. Like that sort of thing. I had no idea how much I actually did that until I cut everything out. And then I was
right.
I've had to stop myself 5 times today. I had no idea I did this that much.
It's the power of conscious response. So I was going to mention though, the 3 things as we just discussed, it was your nutritional quality, it was your hydration, and then it was you cutting added sugar. Those 3 things are independently extraordinarily difficult to do. You did them all at once.
I also completely restructured my sleep schedule where I was getting at least 8 hours of sleep, which required me to cut things out of my life. Like I had a weekly commitment to
gaming,
my Warcraft group, which was like a big part of my social time. And I was like, sorry guys, like not this year. We'll talk about it next year. Yeah. But yeah, so sleeping, which really required some management. But yeah, it was really hard. Those first months, it's like really hard. And after that, like, it was kind of easy. After the first month, especially comparatively, like it was way easy. And by month 6, I was like, I got this. No big deal. Like this is just my life now. This is just what I do. And that's when I really kind of started getting some of that not so great support from other people.
You're always going to have detractors.
Yeah.
And it is true that sometimes, sadly, a lot of your detractors can be people who are very close to you.
They usually are. Like,
yeah, I know.
Your spouse or your mom or dad or your sister, your brother. Like my sister, who is typically a very supportive person for me, she was one of like the primary people that were like, well, can't you just have a cookie? It's Christmas. Like,
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Like she would bring me special treats that she bought at like some fancy place and bring them to me. And I'm like, I can't eat this. Why would you buy this for me? Why would you bring that here?
Well,
I don't know.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to start coaching in the middle of a podcast, but let's reframe this. I can't eat it is not something we say. I choose not to eat it is what we say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Honestly, I don't even want a lot of that stuff. When I was just 100% full on everything, like I didn't want any of that stuff. It didn't even look good. I would see the commercials for it, and I'm like, ugh. Oh my god, it's so bad. It's so bad. Literally, the only thing you see is just chemicals. It's just chemicals. So one of my former favorite candies back in my old life was peanut butter Reese's Cups. And I decided to see if I could make my own healthier version of peanut butter Reese's Cups. And let me tell you, mine are infinitely better than what you get at the store.
For me, it's so difficult. I find my palate is so adversarial to sugar now that even the mildest, sweetest thing.
Alright. There's one thing I did want to say though that I didn't touch on about sort of the difficulty in the beginning was that there's there was like also a massive learning curve for just like what should I eat. There's conflicting information. No one on the internet agrees on anything. You're like, how many calories is salmon? That should be pretty easy. Apparently not. Like the internet will tell you 5 different things and they're all completely wildly different. That was really frustrating. The other part was so yeah, just like finding any sort of reliable nutritional information, very difficult.
Do you remember what I told you when you told me this? What did I tell you?
Yeah, you sent me to a website that was like USDA.
Oh no, you're talking about the calorie thing. Yeah. Okay, no, there was two things that happened. This is a long time ago, so I'm
Yeah,
making you recall. But you're right. Yes, I
absolutely.
did. It sent you to the USDA has done the chemical analysis of the energy, the kilocalorie output of most foods, like the primary foods. They've run them through simulations and they have all the data on that. No, that was one thing. The second thing that I told you was that as long as you're going with whole foods, the calories are not necessarily as important as the nutrition as it relates to you.
Yes.
You're
I just found
assuming,
it such a difficult thing to
I
like
know
follow
it is.
because I was like, but I need to know how many I need to count them and I need to like put it in the app and I need to know for sure. And
Sure.
like, you're right. You were right, obviously. But like it was
But
very
remember, we talked
forward.
about that. We had discussed that it was important for you to become an intuitive eater,
Right,
not
yeah.
an obsessive eater.
Yeah.
And
But I think that I think there's one thing that I will say has been such a benefit from tracking my food, which was that where when I don't track, as you know, I default back to under eating,
yes, you do.
back
You do.
to nutrition.
Yeah.
And so for me, thing is less about being obsessive and punishing myself for not meeting a certain goal or something. It's much more about like, just making sure that I'm meeting my requirements, my bare minimum. I'm making sure that I'm healthy. I'm checking in with myself to keep myself on track for my goals, which is a very different thing than obsessive eating. Like it's a very different mindset. It sounds kind of subtle, like you're tracking, but you're not tracking to track. Like, no, I'm tracking to make sure that I'm meeting my goals and I'm like on the right track, not tracking to hate myself or to punish myself for not doing good. But yeah, like one of the lasting issues that I have from so many years of eating disorders is I just don't know when I'm hungry. I don't have a hunger reflex. I don't feel hungry. I've learned some cues like, okay, if I'm overly emotional or feeling really depressed or really bitchy, like maybe I haven't eaten. Maybe I should check in on that. So yeah, I've learned some of the cues to kind of like, oh wait a minute, that should be a red flag. Have I eaten? But more importantly for me, if I'm like, I always log all my meals, then I know like, hey, my schedule is up. It should be time for me to eat. Now's when I eat. And that makes sure that I stay consistent and fed.
We've gone through a lot of normal things that people have to contend with, like
Yeah.
the history, trying to, as you said, the motivation to work out. And by the way, motivation is a feeling. It's like happiness. It's all a temporary emotion that you can leverage. I mean, you can use motivation, but you have to discipline yourself. Now, that's what you did. I presented you with the map.
Right. Yeah.
I was like Gandalf. I just showed you the way.
You are my Gandalf.
You had to do the work. What was that like for you when you suddenly said, and you let go of your bias, you let go of your traumas, or to the degree that you can, right?
Yeah.
You let go of your disorders, and you just said, you know what? I'm going to step back and I'm going to actually embrace becoming the best that I can be with guidance. How did that feel? And just take people through the journey.
So the first thing is it's really scary. It's really scary to just like let go. And it's really scary to just accept that like maybe this is all for nothing and I'm going to hate what I look like. maybe my self-hatred is just here forever. And this was never the problem. It was never how thin I was or how thin I was. That was never the problem. The problem is just me, right? Like coming to terms with that was really difficult. It was scary. It was frustrating. I have to learn how to cook. No one talked about that part. No one talks about that part. You have to learn how to cook food. That's not easy. Do you know how many shitty dinners I ate? What? Yeah, that was hard. It was frustrating. Obviously, like the cutting sugar thing was like an emotional roller coaster. So I was like crying, and then I was like super excited and motivated and elated. You were talking about motivation, and I always compare motivation to creativity. As someone who has to be creative on demand every day, that's not how artists generally work. Like we are predisposed to like create when the muses are calling to us and then go dormant until the next time we are so enlightened with their vision. But that's not how professional art functions. You have to pick up the phone and meet your deadlines and be productive every day. And sure, everyone's going to have better days and worse days. That's just part of life and work. But like I have had to curate a life and a routine that supports consistent creativity, not bursts of creativity. And it's the same thing with motivation for working out. Like you have to build a life that supports consistency and discipline. And when you have the motivation and you're excited to go to the gym, great. That just makes the day easier and better. When you're not excited about it, the consistency makes it not so bad. It makes it not like a devastating thing that you have to go. You're just like, it's one of those days. I don't really feel like being here, but I'm here. And then you move on. Like the lows are a lot less low, but the highs are equally as high, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So yeah, I always conflate a motivation with creativity because I feel like at least people in my circles that I know are much more familiar with like the ups and downs of creative influx. And I don't think people correlate those two things as much as they should because you can get over artist block. I've done it. I have to do it semi-regularly. And you can get over lack of motivation to work out. This isn't rocket science. It's not that difficult. You just have to be consistent and disciplined. And I think that there's an alignment when you have a path and you have a goal and you have like, you know that it's making you a better person. It's getting you where you want to go. That there's this like sense of comfort and excitement and like joy. I don't know how to describe it other than joy, but like an internal joy of just like, right, like that you're doing it. You're going there. You're making it. It's going to happen now because you've decided it's going to happen. So it's going to happen. We were talking about some of the things that I get out of working out that's not just aesthetic. And one of those things is that I trust myself. That was literally never a thing I thought I'd ever be able to say in my life, especially back when I was struggling really hard with eating disorders because I didn't want to do that. And I had tried to stop a lot of times, but I couldn't trust myself. I never followed through. And that bled over into all the other parts of my life. I would want to do something. I would want to be somewhere. I'd want to better myself in some way, but I would always let myself down and I couldn't trust myself. And that affects everything, even though you don't realize it. When I made the switch and I just said, okay, this is going to happen. I'm doing it. There was no, like you said, I'm booking the call and you will be there. I did that to myself. I was like, okay, you made the commitment and you will do it every day. Then it was a lot. It developed this whole trust in myself that when I say something, it means something. I will actually do that. I can do that because when I decide to do something, I do it. The success of that was so impactful.
That's a breakthrough moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aside from this very, very powerful usage of understanding motivation, transforming it into discipline, and being ready to accept the positive consequences of your actions towards your physical well-being, what other breakthrough moment did you have that just is really stand out for you?
I mean, by about month 6 or 7, I was actually happy with my body for the first time in my entire life. First time ever. And that's not even the best that I got. That's not even the best that I looked like. At 6 or 7 months, I was like, I can actually like myself. I can actually enjoy my body. That's a thing. It was amazing. Some of the awesome side effects have been, capability. Like I said, we've been remodeling the house. We built an entire house for my stepson, and I was the one on top of the rafters, hauling boards up there, nailing them in. Like, I'm the one hauling stuff out, and knowing that I could do that. And it wasn't even hard anymore because of the consistency of my workouts, the weights that I've been moving for so long. Like, these things aren't even difficult or challenges, but I never could have done them before. And now I've remodeled my kitchen. I've built an extension on my house. My stepson has a whole new house because I can do things. We would not have been able to do it without me. And I'm just one of several people working on it, but we would not have been able to do the same things without me. That's big.
So your focus on becoming fit directly translated into your capacity to produce in the real world outside of your physical body.
Yeah, for sure.
Visual aesthetics.
Yeah. And I think the things about longevity, about, not running out of breath when I'm playing with my kids, about fitting in the swing set without digging into my hips, about not getting diabetes when I'm 35. Like, all of these things are great. They're awesome, but they're not why I did it. It was never like the initial motivating factor was, I just want to be healthier and not get diabetes. Like, no one really commits to working out preventatively for old age.
No, they don't.
They do it because they want to look hot. We can all accept that. But it does come with all those other really positive side effects that you don't appreciate until you're on the other side of it, just how much you actually wanted that.
Is that frustrating?
Now I would go back and do it for those reasons.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Back then.
But like you said earlier, hindsight being 2020, this is the thing that has always troubled me, that people will literally allow themselves to perish. They will let themselves die before they fucking work out.
Yeah.
And they don't understand the translations between their aesthetics and their capacity. I never write your workouts solely for an aesthetic outcome. You have to do your mobility. We have to make sure your joints are open. We have to make sure that you have a high level of core stabilization. Right now, we're going to be doing a big shift. We're going to be working on pelvic floor, and we're going to be working on your core because you're looking now to have another child. These are things that are very, very specific and intentional. Being deliberate about your fitness isn't a luxury. It's a fucking requirement. If you want to operate at your optimal capacity as a person, you must sacrifice. And what are you sacrificing? Netflix, scrolling Instagram, watching some dumb shit on Disney Plus? What are you sacrificing your body for? What are you doing? Like, look, and I know that you love your World of Warcraft and you have your raiding parties and you guys go out and you just conquer villages. I like that. But you can do it in conjunction with being fit. You don't have to sacrifice the vessel of your soul for short-term gratification, for instant dopamine hits.
This year, I decided I didn't want to be 100% anymore, but I wanted to hover around like 80, 85%. And the gray areas are the hardest part. Deciding to be like somewhere in the middle is so much harder to navigate than just on or off.
For now.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, like, if you're just now starting out or thinking about starting out on fitness, trying to like just get a little better is so much harder than just cut it all out.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, that there's merit to that for a lot of people. So in your case, you told me I will give you 100% for X amount of time. Could you please tell people what happened to you when you gave 100%? You actually did everything precisely.
I completely transformed my body. Yeah, it transformed everything. I actually liked myself and I enjoyed what I looked like. I was more confident, not just aesthetically, but I was just more confident in everything. I felt like I could tackle any project that came up. I actually got a deal going with Felicia Day where I did miniatures for her 3D website, and I sculpted all of her characters from the guild. And that's like, those kinds of projects are very intimidating, like being a celebrity thing and being very exposed online and having these very consistent deadlines to meet her things on top of my other commitments. But I wasn't scared. Like, this was the kind of thing that I would have self-sabotaged because I was scared of failing before. And I didn't. I got to welcome it with open arms and be like, yes, I'm excited. Let's do it. I got this. Because there's just so much more confidence in me, in my capability to do what I want to do, to meet the goals I want to meet.
Do you believe that it is possible for you now, being at 80% of effort, to maintain that?
For sure. Yeah, very easily. And I periodically go back to 100% if I feel like, well, this is another thing I feel like that doesn't get addressed, that should get addressed. Self-punishment. People talk about it in like a really negative way, especially when you're talking about eating disorders, right? Because a lot of it is like self-punishment for perceived wrong. And here's the thing. Self-punishment can be good. It is a tool that you should use to correct bad behavior that you want to correct. But don't let it be tricky and punish yourself with the thing you actually wanted to do. Make sure that the punishment actually fixes the problem. It actually addresses the problem. As an example, I used to punish myself for like not getting enough sculpting time in by not eating lunch. Well, that's not really a punishment because I kind of didn't want to eat anyway. That was just my brain's way of finding a justification for the eating disorder. If I ate my lunch and I threw it up, an actual punishment would be now I have to go eat that same exact lunch, but with no seasoning. That actually addresses the problem. Because the next time that I feel like going to throw up my lunch, I think, if I do this, I'm just going to have to eat all this food all over again, but it's going to taste worse. Do I actually want to do that? Not really. It's not giving yourself the out. It's not giving yourself like the excuse or the justification. It's punishing yourself with actually correcting the problem. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I just want to clarify that it's that level of self-punishment, as you and I have discussed, is never the appropriate response. So using binging and purging as a self-flagellation is a disorder. I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Yes.
Eating with or without seasoning, either way, you're wrong. Like that's not where we're going. Let's make sure everybody's very
so you should clear. You should binge, but just that you should actually address the problem with going towards the right goal.
The root cause problem. Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, no, that's really important too. And that's the thing. It's so easy to, like you just said, self-justification. It's so easy to manipulate yourself into self-harm.
Right, yeah.
It's so easy. Now, you have done a remarkable job of cleansing your brain from that. But here's the bottom line. You're the one who takes you past the finish line. We only support, right? We only support. But you've done a really good job. You've had all these great breakthroughs and you have conquered massive problems. If you've never been an alcoholic, you don't understand, but you can project to understanding, right? If you've never been a drug addict, you don't really understand the power, but like you can project to it. You can say, oh, okay, I think I understand. If you've never been a sugar addict, it's really difficult to.
I don't believe you.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't believe you.
If you tell me that you've never been a cigarette addict, I don't believe you.
Yeah, like a modern American is probably a sugar addict. Yeah, that's generally probably a fair statement. But what you've done is you have taken some of the most hard-hitting physical and psychological problems, and you basically stood up super tall, got shredded, and you pulled that sword off your back and you just cut them off. You said, nope, fuck you, not happening. I'm done with that in my life. I don't think that I've seen you have any major regressions in 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
And it's not, I think the misnomer, this is going to be controversial. People are going to disagree with me on this, but
that's what this podcast is about.
I don't believe in the AA mantra that alcoholism is like just forever because I manage it, because I can consume it without getting wasted. I set rules around it and I abide by my rules and I don't struggle. There are times when Kyle wants to have a drink and I'm like, I just don't feel like drinking.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
And it's funny too, because I'm gonna absolutely validate this. Since I've known you long enough, I think that I'm in a position that I can. You used to drink with the explicit desire to get wasted. That's what you used to do.
Absolutely.
You don't do that anymore.
No. Even when I drink now, like I don't even get wasted.
No. You tell me, like, because we go through it every week.
Yeah, exactly. Like you would know if I did. But yeah, it's not even a desire that I have much. Like I still do maybe, I don't know, once every few months, I'll drink a little more than I should. I say should, but like I accept like, hey, tonight I'm going to get wasted and I drink as much as I tell myself I drink. And then, but usually the next morning I'm like, God, why did I do that? you know what? I don't really want to do that again.
And it delays the effect again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
push it off. And here's another thing about the rule. If at any point I break that rule, I just cold turkey. None. For a minimum set.
Yes, I've seen you do that. Yeah. Yes.
Like I said I was going to have 2 drinks, but I actually had a double. So not on purpose,
Doubles?
well, I accidentally had doubles. I need to go without alcohol for the next 30 days.
Somebody else make your drink.
Yeah. So like I have to hold myself accountable. I have to stick to my rules, and I have to make sure that my punishments actually address the problem. But I'm not an alcoholic. I don't identify with that term. Like,
Not anymore.
that's who I am. That's
Yeah.
who I used to be, for sure. But that's not my problem. I don't struggle with that anymore.
Well, let's clarify punishment though, because you brought up something really interesting. This is the second time that you've mentioned some kind of form of self-punishment. I want to make sure that you and I are on the same page on this, but also that anybody who's listening, when we talk about punishment, we're not talking about a destructive or some kind of internal deconditioning. When we
Right.
talk about a punishment, doesn't necessarily have to be negative.
Sure. Yeah.
So, I love red wine. And on the weekends, it's almost inevitable that Heather and I are going to share a bottle or two over the weekend course. I make delicious food. I handmade lasagna for the first time ever last night. It was amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. But we decided, and this is rare, it's extraordinarily rare, that we were going to have a glass of wine with this dish. And that's a Monday. That's because today's Tuesday. It was abnormal to drink during the week. This wasn't a punishment. It wasn't a reward. What it was is a conscientious decision by an adult who said, we just had got this beautiful bottle of wine from Grapevine, Texas, where there's an olive oil store where we get our honey and our olive oil. It's either imported from Portugal or Spain, or it's California olive oils, and they import them, and all the honey is homemade here in Texas. So, you know me, I love my organic foods and my food sourcing. But the point that I'm making is that the drinking has to be conscientious, like we're deliberate about it. The point is that managing it and then keeping a meter and being an adult about it and saying, look, I am going to only consume X. This is what I'm committed to. But when we use the word punishment, we're not flagellating ourselves.
Right.
It is okay to self-criticize and say, I fucked that up. I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
With the intention of making better decisions in the future. But when I think about applied punishment, when it comes to food, I'm very, very, very careful. Not just with me, but with clients.
Yeah, for sure.
And be very careful.
I think to some extent, like, people need to define their own rules and sort of terminology the way that's most beneficial for their brain, their mindset.
Yes, but you would agree with me that it has to be within the realm of sustainability and joy.
It's just like the tracking thing. Like, I'm not going without alcohol as a punishment for drinking. I'm going without alcohol to make sure that when I'm making those decisions, it's not under the influence.
And probably not a bad idea in general, that you have consequences for yourself if you break your word to yourself. You've read my book. You already know that this is true. I believe that what you say in your head, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between your mom telling you or you telling you. Your subconscious just thinks you're a piece of shit. So when you get down on yourself, it has the same effect as if your mom were punishing you or your dad or whatever. The way that I like to look at this is this, that if I am going to restrict or punish myself, it is with the conscientious acknowledgement that I broke my trust with me.
Yeah.
And when I do that, the punishment isn't about inflicting pain.
Right.
It's about inflicting reminders. It's to say, I will not, or I will endeavor to not do that in the future. And I feel like that is the best way for people to kind of move through the shame aspect. I did a whole podcast on shame.
We divorced from shame. It's not about.
It's totally divorced.
It's about making sure that you stay on track with your goals, that you're making the choices you want to make, free of the influence of the things that you struggle with. If I was still struggling with sugar, as an example, and I recently just, had a big party or something, and I had allotted time to have a bunch of sugar, I wouldn't then decide, like, well, I should just do sugar more often. No, no, like,
no. I think that's your point, is that what happens is that when people break the seal, they're like, fuck it, I already messed up and I'm just going to keep going.
I really like your analogy, and this is really appropriate for, the time of year we're in right now as the holidays come up and all this. I think it was maybe 2 years ago, we were talking about this around this time, and you were saying, like, how many Christmas parties do you have? 5? 6? Like, Okay, even if you totally botched your routine all 6 days of the entirety of the day, not just the party, but like the entirety of the day, all 6 days, that's 6 days out of 60 for November and December, right? That's nothing. The point is not deprive yourself of all enjoyability. The point is make sure that your baseline is where you want it to be all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then deviations don't affect your overall health.
Yes.
But plan them, obviously. Don't just willy-nilly just like, oh, okay, let me just, drink 5 things of eggnog or something, plan it.
It is true. And I remember this conversation with you. The concept, by the way, for our listeners is wellness consciousness. Wellness consciousness exists on an X and a Y axis. On the X axis, you have duration, and on the Y axis, you have intensity. Now, to the left of the X axis in the middle, you have destructive behaviors and the intensity thereof, right? And on the right side of the Y axis, you have constructive behaviors. So if you were to look at 60 days of constructive behavior, and you were to put the intensity of the constructive behavior and the duration, and then you were to take those 6 days that you're literally pinning your whole life on in your self-worth, and you're ignoring all the incredible work you're doing, and you were to look at it graphically, it's dumb. Like, we're so dumb. We're so ready to literally give up our whole fitness. I might as well just quit. Why am I even bothering? Well, I don't know. If we go to the height of your exercise adherence, we're talking about 100% adherence here, not like 95, right? And then you look at your constructive behaviors in the X axis to Y, and then we look at your deconstructive actions. It's inconsequential. It's not even a blip. It's not even a blip. But what happens is, what we do is we only focus on that one little thing. And then we wrap ourselves emotionally around it. And that's where people actually give up. I don't understand this. I've tried. I've worked with people for 25 years.
Yeah, I think there's two things that I want to address about that. The first one being, yes, that's just a human phenomenon, and we should just recognize that is how our brains work, right? Like, you could have someone tell you all day, you run into 5 or 6 people that are like, wow, your outfit is so cute. Wow, you look great today. Wow, look at your hair. And then like one person at the end of the day goes, ooh, didn't get much sleep. And instantly your mood tanks. You feel bad. Right. This happens all the time on social media. You can get all the comments in the world, all the likes, but then the one guy that's like, you're stupid, and that's the one you focus on. This is just a human phenomenon. It happens, except that that's how your brain works, and work to disregard it. Just tell your brain this
right
is
there.
Don't pay
your last sentence. Your last sentence, though. Let's say that one more time.
Just disregard it.
Yeah.
Just accept that
Disregard it.
And disregard the comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The second thing, I forget my point now, but the second thing had to do with like social construct when it comes to holidays and celebrating.
Everybody just lets go.
Right. Like, it's just acceptable. And you have a lot of people telling you, well, it's the holidays. Well, it's Christmas. Well, it's, so-and-so's birthday. You're not going to do this. And you have to just prioritize your goals, prioritize your choices, and have a spine. Stick to your plan. Have a plan. Have a plan that includes some fun. Have a plan that includes your favorite apple pie and, or whatever it is. But have your plan and stick to your plan.
Here's another completely easy to explain phenomenon. New Year, Easter, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, July 4th. I'm not in order on the holidays, by the way. Thanksgiving, birthdays, right? Party, whatever it is. There's every single month, always something.
Oh, we got really busy and we were out with the kids after school activities really late. We came back. I'm exhausted. I don't want to cook. Let's just order pizza.
And on occasion, that's fine.
Right.
And that's what people don't do. They throw their hands in the air and then they get into destructive patterns, right? Remember, we're talking about wellness consciousness, destructive versus constructive behavior. And that's one of the things that you've done really well. Your deep habitual behaviors have moved. You are not the same person you were 5 years ago. And now, just because of the interest of time, I want to bring this full circle, because you and I could just sit here and talk for 6 hours. People struggling. You and I both know that people struggle significantly. And you're in a unique position because you have gone through almost more than most people. What would you say, people who are listening and saying, oh, I don't know if I can do it, or like, I'm still unsure, or whatever the nonsense that we manufacture in our brains, share something that just gets people to consider that they can and they should. And actually, they must do it. They must be fit. And what that fitness means isn't about just the way they look. There's more to it. What do you say?
Yeah, I think you have to be self-aware and you have to self-analyze and say, what do I actually want my life to look like? Where do I want to go? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of parent do I want to be? What kind of partner do I want to be? What do I want me to be? And then you have to pick that goal, whatever the next goal is. For me, it was a lot of things. There was a lot of things that had to be different to be the person I wanted to be. So you just got to start at the top of the list and just work your way down. You just pick the big thing, find someone that you trust to hand the reins over to and go, okay, take me there. What do I have to do? And then that's it. Just put in the work. Be consistent. Consistency is the key to life, the key to everything. The key to success in any area of your life is just consistency. Just do the thing over and over and over again until you succeed. And I get it. Like, I've been injured. I've hurt myself several times. I've gotten so sick. And you were the one telling me, like, no, sit your butt at home. Do not even think about going to the gym. For the next 2 days at least, you are on your butt at home. And I was like, okay, I'm doing what you say. I'm doing what you say. Those things come up. They're always going to come up. Don't let the excuses of convenience be justification for failure. Yes, let someone else be the judge of when you need an exception. Let you be the constant and let someone else tell you when to deviate. I think this is what support groups for a lot of those things that I've gone through, which I've never used a support group because I have a child. But I think that's what those things serve a purpose for a lot of people. It's like just letting them dictate where the guidelines are, and you just follow that path. And then if a deviation is required, you let them tell you. I let you tell me when you're like, you know what? Don't take that multivitamin. You know what?
I remember that.
Don't go to the gym today. I let Kyle say, you know what? It's okay. We're going to order pizza today. You are burnt out and this is just what you need mentally. Okay. I let other people that I trust who have my best interest at heart tell me when to deviate, and you just stay on the path. Yes, you do have to be discerning about who those people are, obviously.
No, that's implied, I think.
Yes.
No, I understand the spirit.
Possible. I can say anything. It's that anything is possible. I cannot tell you the number of people who have told me that the issues I've overcome are impossible.
How do you react to that? What are your exact feelings on that?
I'll tell you exactly what goes through my head when people tell me that.
Please do.
It is the black and white reel of Walt Disney going, doing the impossible is really fun. Because it is. Like, it's hard work, but literally everything we're doing is hard work. But it's fun, too. It's fun when I get to go to the gym and I have to tell the guys, like, sorry, I'm using your weight. You'll have to wait.
I'm sorry. I'm curling 30 pounds. And by the way, even as you're like reaching around, like look at your separation, your bicep, tricep, your shoulder complex. You look so amazing. And here's the thing. For those of you who are watching, she does not look the same as she did 5 years ago. You look like an athlete because you perform as one, because you made the decision to do it. And everything that you said, I think has a lot of merit. Yes, it is true. Having support mechanisms, lovely. Well, I mean, isn't that like, I think that's kind of what I do for a living.
So you have to
It's one of my jobs.
that one.
Yeah. But I wanted to remind you that I can't do anything for you unless you do it. And you made the commitment. And like, again, you have always moved forward.
I really feel like this is important. I promise I won't dawdle too long, but this is really important on that topic. People think that they want the finish line. I just want to lose 20 pounds. I just want to fit into a size 6. I just want whatever it is, fill in the blank. Because they think like, well, when I just reach that one goal, then it's done. And I'll be happy if I just have this one thing. And you won't. That's not how it works. It's never been how it works. The joy is in the journey. And I know that sounds so fucking cliche and stupid. And if I heard me say that 5 years ago, I'd be like, whatever, shut up, you stupid bitch. But I promise you, it's true. I can say this as someone who's conquered depression now twice. Depression does not have to be your entire life. You don't have to live this way forever.
Yeah.
And it takes hard work and it takes consistency and it takes revamping your life, letting go of everything that you're currently attached to and committing to moving forward. But if you ever stop moving forward, that's when you get depressed. That's when life sucks, is when you're not moving forward, when you are not going for a goal, when you're not getting anywhere. That's when life sucks. Don't wish for that. I don't wish for that on my enemy. It's a terrible place to be, to have accomplished your goals and have nothing left on the horizon. It's a death sentence. If you want to be happy and you want to be successful, always have the next thing. Always be moving forward. Always find that next goal to hit or the next life accomplishment you want under your belt or whatever it is. After last year, we reanalyzed and I said, okay, what do I want to do now? I've done my 100%, seen what that looks like. Where do I want to go with that? And it really came down to two big decisions. I either wanted to compete and start doing fitness bodybuilding competition or have another baby. And I took some time. I thought about that. The big thing that I thought about was, what do I want the next 10 years to look like? What is going to be the most fulfilling thing for me for the next 10 years? And I listed out every option that I could think of, every goal that I've ever had, anything that's ever been on my bucket list of things that I could do. And I put all of that on a list. And I said, out of these things, what do I really want? What would I be just disappointed that I didn't get to do? And one of those things was fitness competition. And that's because I really want to see just how far I could go. I don't want to get to like, yay, you did this, but you didn't finish it. You didn't really go all the way. I want to see what the end of that journey looks like. I want to get there. And I'm not doing it to compare myself to other women. I don't want to do it because I want the accolades and I want to stack trophies on my shelf. It's not about any of that. I just want to see how far I can go. What's my personal finish line? And then, okay, maybe I fall in love with that and I go do a bunch more competition. Maybe I'm like, that was really terrible and I never want to do that again. I don't know. No one will know until I get there. My husband doesn't know. You don't know. I don't know. And so it came down to sort of these two things. And obviously my age is like, a slight concern. Because I'm 36, going on 37. And so there's like risk factors with getting pregnant. And my husband is significantly older than me, so there's risk factors that go along with that. But being a mom is just the best part of my life. It's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. It's the most meaningful thing I've ever put myself and devoted myself to. And if I could do that one more time, I think it would be the most fulfilling thing I could do 20 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband says, maybe 2 more times. No. And so we had our chat, like, okay, I feel like I'm at a crossroads. I feel like it's either A or B. And you were like, I don't know what you're talking about. You can have your cake and eat it too.
You
can go have a baby and then we can train for competition and we can get ready for that the whole time. And you can have all the things that you want in life. And there's nothing more exciting, more motivating, if that's the word you want to use, more aspirational than to just hear you can have anything you want in your life. All you have to do is just pick what it is, find someone who knows how to get you there, and put in the work. So that's my capstone. That's what I would say.
You can have anything that you want in the world for the most part, as long as it's reasonable, if you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people have unrealistic expectations. These expectations are made worse by their timeframes for those expectations. And one of the things that you have certainly learned, and then you've even expressed here on this call, is that sometimes the time frame is the problem with your goal. It's not the goal. And if you want to be the fittest you've ever been, you can still do that in your 60s.
Yeah. One of the girls that I follow on my Instagram, she's like in her 70s and she's still a bodybuilding competitor. And she's so inspiring to me. Like, I love seeing her pictures and seeing her new stage shots. And I'm just like, yes, you go, girl.
That is precisely what you've done with yourself. You have reinvented yourself. You have ignored what most people would use as a crutch from their past. You've kicked that crutch out from yourself and you said, no, fuck that. You rise up and you work hard. You lift heavy. You lift well. You've done a remarkable job. Remember, I told you that we were going to do figure competing light. So from about, was it January 2025 Oh, then we stopped with the heavy stuff in August of 2025, right? So it wasn't even a whole year.
Yeah.
You got lean as fuck. You got so lean that I backed you off.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big revelation too for me from an eating disorder perspective, was that I got so lean, I didn't like it anymore. That's another thing I thought I'd never say, that I was too skinny. I didn't think that, but when I got that lean, I looked in the mirror and I was like, actually, I kind of like myself with about 5 more pounds.
Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And the thing is that, and because I immediately agreed with you, I said, hey, listen, I think we need to dial it back just a bit, because you weren't going to be going on stage. Now, like, we could have continued if you're going to go on stage, and we had an end goal for that. But I was more concerned about, I didn't want to antagonize any reoccurrence of past mindsets. And you handled it really well. When I told you, I said, well, I think we're done. I think we need to stop. Let's reevaluate and allow you to come to some kind of homeostasis. And you've done a great job with that.
Like, you were totally right. We were on the same page already. And
yeah.
The big thing is, like, the scale is a lie, guys. The scale is a lie. The first month, I gained 7 pounds and I lost 8 inches around my waist. It's not about the scale. It's about the body composition. It's about what you look like. It's about where the muscle is, how it's distributed. That is what you're looking for. So just put the scale away. I banned myself from the scale for a while because it had such a strong emotional impact on me. But I was doing monthly check-ins last year just to, like, keep track of my progress for a 50% year. And it didn't take many months before I was like, this is stupid. I don't even care.
Weight kept going up.
Like, my weight's going up and I look better than ever. Like, every single month I was like, I still look way better. And the scale says I'm at 137. Like, okay, I guess 137 is hot then. That was the mentality.
Like, you were getting veins in your shoulders.
Yeah.
But you were gaining weight. And I said it tongue in cheek. I said, I told you so.
Yeah, you did.
Eat more,
you did.
Work out hard, and hydrate yourself and sleep. Those are the only things that you needed to do. And you did them very, very, very well. And this is the point. You look fantastic. And you're only doing 75, 80% of what you were doing. Your exercise adherence is still really good. I mean, it's been a little bit rough the last few weeks, but there's an offset though here. This is the thing that's really important for people to understand.
But I've been building a house.
Building a house. I saw the work.
Building out.
I mean, the things that you were lifting, your energy output, all of those things. And, and you kept me in the loop. Like, there were some dietetic things, like nutritionally, you felt like you're a little off, but all in all, you did really, really well. And I think that that's important. So your capstone is beautiful, because throw away the scale. You don't need it. Become the best version of yourself. Lift heavy, lift strategically. And because that was the whole thing, you needed a plan. And that's the other thing too, is like, we periodize everything that you do. We're always talking about, okay, like, based on your body's stress adaptations, here's what we should probably do to get you to the next level. And even now that you have backed off and you're not trying to get super, super lean, super, super shredded, I still periodize everything. So you still maximize every single workout that you're in. And I know that right now, pregnancy is your primary objective. Your nutrition has to be absolutely spot on, right? And then we need to make sure that your body it's a nice host.
Yeah.
Yes. It needs to be inviting. And then we're going to get you through the pregnancy. It's not a problem. Easy.
You know what I tell people who say you're crazy for trying to have a baby at 37? I say doing the impossible is fun.
People are always going to shit on you.
Yeah.
Everybody's always going to tell you, you can't do it. You can't do this. You can't do that. I find that to be one of the most disgusting human traits. Non-criminal, disgusting human traits is that people are always looking to cut you off at your knees. I just don't fucking understand that. Makes no sense. I'm telling you right now, you're going to do it both. You are going to have a beautiful baby during the time that you're pregnant, up until there's 2 factors. One is, I understand that getting into the 3rd trimester, we have to be very careful about load and intercostal pressure. And we're going to listen to your physician, your OBGYN, right? Okay, so we're going to do those 2 things. So you are going to come out of your pregnancy not only as like Wonder Woman mom with fucking biceps, you're going to be already predispositioned and ready to go to your next goal. This can and will happen.
Watch me. That's what I say. And I'm not special. I'm not like some kind of freak with, like, I don't have the same problems or the same thought processes. I'm just like everybody else. I have the same mental hurdles. I have the same crying sessions. I have the same everything. Okay. It's not that it's easy. It's just, it is possible.
I'm really grateful that you came on and you shared your story, because I believe that there are people who are going to listen to this and be like, oh my gosh, this is how I felt, or this is what some of the things that I've been concerned about. And I just want anybody who's listening to remember you can do it. And the only thing, and I mean this, if you live in America, the only thing in your way is you. It's just you. Just get out of your way.
Yeah. And it's like I said, it's fun. It's fun when you get in there and you've been working really hard and you've been struggling and you're like, man, maybe today you just don't feel like being at the gym and you know it's going to be a hard day and you're like loading up the plates and you're like, okay, I got my music on, let's do it. And get down there and somebody's like, whoa, that's so much. I can't believe you just loaded that many plates. Or they're like, hey, I think I saw you a couple months ago. You look great. You look amazing. Moments at the gym was I was doing push-ups. You had me doing like burnout push-ups, I think, at the end of a routine. And so I was like just doing as many push-ups as I could do. And this guy, I've seen him in there a lot of times, but I never really talked to him. He waited for me to finish and then he was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, you have better push-up form than any guy I've ever seen in this gym. And I was like, thank you.
Absolute delight. I'm so happy that you spent this afternoon with me. It's been so great to hear your story again, but more that you framed it in such a way that was just so digestible for people, because I know there's so many folks that are going to be listening to this and being like, yeah, gosh, that's something that I have to deal with. Once you finally did it, you did it. It's not that hard. You just got to do the work, man. And you did it. And I'm so pleased with you. And I can't wait to see what is going to happen to you over the next 12 months. I think you are going to be more fit next year than you are even this year, because that's what I've seen from you for half a decade. Like I know it was slow in the beginning, but you always were ramping up. You've always progressed. You had a little bit of a dip there. And now, I mean, just look at you. Absolutely stunning. Like you're fit.
I'm, like I said, 36. I'll be 37 next month. And I am the happiest I've ever been. I am the most competent I've ever been. I have the most self-confidence, self-assurity. I am as hot as I ever have been. Way better than when I was in my 20s. Way better than when I was a teenager. You can ask Kyle. He met me in my 20s and he's like, yeah, you're way hotter now. And yeah, I've found a whole new aspect to incorporate into my life that has met my goals, but has also helped me to meet so many other goals and give me so many other benefits I didn't even know that I wanted, but now I couldn't live without. Fitness is part of me now, and you couldn't rip it out of my hands if you tried. I'm not going anywhere, so I hope you don't ever get sick of me.
No, my darling. I've always said this, that as long as people are putting in what they need to, I will never leave them. Even if we have to go through trials, even if there is some down periods that happens, right? Life isn't always linear, but you have done such a phenomenal job. I'm exceedingly proud of you. And looking at even just your lifts, like the weights that you move now, they're world class. You're like moving into like world class, not like powerlifting competitive. That's not what I mean, but like way, way beyond anything that a normal woman would typically move. You're moving double to triple that weight. That means that there's a cross functionality to that it's protecting your body. It's allowing you to function. You can remodel home. You are roofing now.
Yeah. I literally ripped out an entire kitchen and bathroom just the other day. We put a roof on another house. I framed up that house. We added an extension onto my house. We remodeled my bathroom. Like I help work on the cars. There's nothing that I can't do. And my kids, I didn't even really talk about this, but my kids have been so changed by my experience. One, I completely changed their diet and I got out of
magic salt.
Yeah.
You have to tell the magic salt.
So you had recommended this very expensive salt, finishing salt. And you're like, you have to try it. It's so good. And I was like, okay. So I ordered it and we tried it on some steaks. And my kids were like, it's magic salt. It makes everything taste better. So that's magic salt.
Mm-hmm.
But my daughter wants to lift weights. She like tries to get my dumbbells out. They're active. I changed their diet from head to toe. We have to get out of this mindset of like, the adults can have the good stuff and we'll just leave the trashy sugar stuff for the kids. I can tell you, when I'm trying to build my body, I absolutely need all the clean food. They are building their bodies every single day. And they need the clean food, maybe even more than I do, but they need it. And yeah, like the sugar cereals, all this crap that they go to school, they get horrible school lunches and there's parties, all the candies and all the stuff. Like, just stop. Kids don't need that. What they need is the nutrients, the actual tools to build the bodies that they're trying to build the minds that they're trying to build. Without the resources, they can't do it. And I think that's an incredibly valuable lesson that I didn't even process that I needed to learn until last year.
Parents should heed this. This is one of the things that I had mentioned was going to be a unintended positive consequence of you changing your diet, was that your children were going to inevitably benefit.
Yeah.
You've done a great job, Christine. I'm really proud of you. Absolutely proud of you. All right, my dear, I'll let you go. Do your thing. I will see you Saturday. I'm going to Bryan Adams on Thursday, so I'm excited about that. He's going to be here in Dallas, so I'm going to go see that concert. But I will be home Friday, and then I'll see you on Saturday. And then we'll tighten things up and keep you progressing as always.
Okay.
Thank you so much for spending this time with me.